Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. All right, good one this week. I'm gonna have a cheat sheet by the time we get to the end of this video. I'm like building it in my mind as I'm talking to you. So it should be good though. I have some ideas. Now I just have to like put them together. Okay, so last couple weeks we've dug into kind of the vetting process and how does a recruiter, vet for an industry or a skill set or accomplishments that they've personally never done. So specifically, for me, obviously in tech, the question was, do I need to be technical in order to vet someone else technically, in order to read a resume, in order to conduct a proper phone screen, things like that? I say no. A bunch of you disagreed with me. No surprise. Some of you are of the opinion that we should make engineers in charge of all of the screening and interviewing, to which I say, well, if they were doing that as their full-time job, they would be recruiters. and I can tell you, engineering pays a little better. depending on, some factors, but I mean, if you could choose, would you pick recruiting? Oh, bless. Okay. Anyway, that said, recruiters do have a responsibility to do it right. Okay. So we talked about that last week, where I kind of dug into this idea that having a strong partnership with your hiring manager and the two of you really being in sync on what you're looking for, what the right talent looks like, what is the problems we're trying to solve here, those kinds of things is what enables recruiters to do their job. So I stand by that. I will never personally be an engineer. I am not going to learn to code. I am not going to learn how to machine parts for spacecraft. Like, it's just not something I will ever do, but I damn sure will have lots and lots of conversations with people who can do it and hopefully convince them to join my organization. So I think just a quick sidebar before I get to the topic, okay? I think a lot of this comes from this idea that recruiting is not a real profession. I think there's this fallacy out there, and we do sometimes create this. Look, I'm not saying that recruiters aren't our own worst enemy, because I think we are in a lot of cases. But you've got a lot of big tech companies or a lot of national agencies that literally pluck kids out of college and make them recruiters. Okay, so a lot of engineers get frustrated when they get on the phone with a recruiter, and this recruiter's been out of school for 6 months, went to some weird recruiter boot camp, and is now smiling and dialing all day. Like, it's frustrating, and I get it. Everybody was entry level at one point, okay? So while you may have these moments or these like particular one-on-ones where you're kind of like scratching your head going, does that person really know what they're doing, and why am I talking to them? I'm just saying, be patient, because we're all learning. We all started somewhere, but at some point there is a bar, and there are going to be certain expectations, certain baselines that you should be able to expect from any recruiter, regardless of tenure, regardless of experience, regardless of work history. There are just certain things that before they are released into the wild, they need to be able to do. Okay. And I say that with all the love and affection in the world. I mentor a bunch of baby recruiters. I was a baby recruiter once. I made all my mistakes before the internet, thank God. Now I just make new and better ones. But the idea is the underlying expertise, the professional must-haves are going to be the same. I don't care how long you've been doing it. I don't care where you work. So what I want to give you today, though, going back to the cheat sheet, is some very specific questions that you can ask your recruiter. There are going to be things, I don't care if you're internal, external, agency, 50 years of experience, 5 months of experience, I don't care. There are some baseline expectations that you as a job seeker should have of your recruiters. We're going to walk through that, and then I'll tell you how to get the cheat sheet with questions that you can ask today. Okay, so the first baseline not the whiteboard, is going to be a high level overview of the role. Okay, so whether you've applied, whether the recruiter has come and found you, I don't care how you're coming into the process, the recruiter should be able to give you insight above and beyond the job description. If a recruiter is recruiting from just a job description, no. Absolutely not. You send that recruiter back to the hiring manager for more information. And if they're not listening or they're not getting anywhere with their hiring managers, you send them to me and I will coach them on how to get that, because you deserve to know the context behind this open role. Maybe it's, why is the role open? Was someone promoted? Did someone quit? Is the team growing? Is it a new position? Whatever. Also, what are the expectations of the role? Like okay, I see the job description, I'm gonna write code and I have to have done it for at least 3 years, but what am I building? What am I shipping? What am I protecting? What am I growing? What am I dismantling? Whatever the case may be, right? So you should be able to get an understanding, barring any confidential stuff that can't be shared, of what exactly this role/team and working with them entails. If a recruiter cannot answer that for you, kindly ask them to go get more information and come back to you, okay? The second thing that should be very, very clear from day one is, what does the process and timeline look like, okay? So process and timeline. This is, again, I think when we're dealing with applicants and we're talking about a specific role and you've applied and we know there's a potential fit here and your resume meets qualifications, those kinds of things, it should be incredibly clear. I know for me with my applicants, I actually run them by my manager first. My manager tells me what the short list is. I say, hey, here's all the people that fit the requirements. Like, I've done a once over, I've made sure, the resume speaks to the fit, they meet the qualifications of the role. We've talked about that 80 billion times. And who do you want to talk to? And then sometimes that means narrowing that down. If we've got like 20 great people and the manager really only has the bandwidth to talk to 5 or 10, we have to make some tough decisions. But the good news there is that by the time I go back to my applicant and say, hey, I reviewed your resume with the manager, they're willing to get on a call with you. Like, this is a formality. This is me and you, like, checking some boxes, digging into your background a little bit, answering your questions, and really making sure that what we think we know about you right now is accurate and is truly a fit for what we're trying to solve for. So generally speaking, for my applicants, it's pretty clear. This is the process. This is the next step. This is the timeline, those kinds of things. For those that are maybe being just hit up out of the blue, or maybe we haven't identified a specific role. Maybe it's more like, hey, you're a fit for the team. You're a fit for the company. Let's talk. Then the question becomes, what's next? Is it a matter of like you pitching me to a bunch of managers and seeing if one of them likes me? Is it a matter of identifying a role that I'm excited about? Is it something else? So it's okay to push your recruiter on specifics. Like, what happens from here? Are you just stacking your database, or are you genuinely interested in me for a specific role? Because I don't have time for anything that's not that, okay? Because I know what recruiters do. Recruiters find people for jobs, not the other way around. So I'm not going to sit back and pretend that you're going to be some kind of career advisor, Jerry Maguire for me, because that's bullshit and we all know it, okay? I don't care what a recruiter tells you, they're lying. Okay. How to showcase fit. So, this one, So what other info does the recruiter need, right? And I think especially for maybe the earlier stage ones where it's like, hey, I think you're great for the company. I'm not sure exactly where you might fit yet. There's a few different things I have in mind, or a couple different teams that could fit, or whatever. Or if you're an external agency, a couple different clients that I might, want to submit you to or whatever. But the question for the candidate then becomes, based on our discussion, based on my resume, based on what you know of me so far, you know your client, you know the hiring team, you know the role. What else do you need from me as the potential candidate to showcase my skills and abilities and fit for team role, whatever. So that's okay to ask that. And I actually try to walk through that with my candidates anyway. But if a candidate were to like come to me with that question, I'd be like, damn, that's a really smart question. You must follow that Amy Miller chick. Just kidding. Oh, I have notes over here. That's why I keep looking over here. Sherman, yeah, see? Sherman's still here. He's hanging out. Hi, Sherman. Him and Bob. Okay, it's on my notepad. And then I guess the last thing would be, you know, if this isn't a fit, right? If this role, if we go through this process or even in the course of just our initial conversation and decide, you know, this isn't for me. I don't want to relocate. This would be a step backwards. That, you know, there's any number of reasons why the initial conversation starter or the role we had in mind or the company we had in mind or whatever maybe doesn't make sense. It's okay to say, okay, well, if not this, then what? You know, does it make sense to maybe we just connect on LinkedIn and we stay in touch for, you know, something 6 months from now? Maybe we never talk again. That's okay too. You know, maybe there's any number of things that could happen. Again, for agency recruiters, maybe they have multiple clients they could submit you to. There's nothing wrong with that. But it does become this question of, you know, if we're not moving forward with this role, if we've decided or the manager isn't interested or something else has kind of caused a pause here, what does our next step look like? It may be as simple as, hey, let's just keep in touch. I say this to candidates all the time or prospective candidates all the time. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know if you see something at my company that might be a fit for you. I'm happy to help with introductions, you know, shed any light that I can on process or what, I mean, any number of things, right? So it's okay to expect that closure. We shouldn't leave you hanging. We shouldn't be like forever in a day, oh, I'm just waiting for the manager to get back to me. Are you? I mean, sometimes, yes, I really am. I gotta be honest. I've got a couple of those situations right now. I'm like, I swear to God, I bring it up every meeting. But, you know, for the most part, we should be able to kind of identify where we go from here. And if a recruiter is not able to do that, thank you and move on. Like, you don't have to invest in that relationship if it's not providing any value to you. So I'm going to create a list of questions. I'm going to create a cheat sheet here for y'all. Let's go with recruiter FAQs. Recruiter FAQs. That will be your subject line to get the list of questions and list of context to kind of go with what we just talked about. Sherman, my buddy Sherman, he will be sending you that email. So email Amy at recruitinginyogapants.com. Put recruiter, singular, FAQs plural, in the subject line, and Sherman will send that out to you. Okay, so I hope you all found that helpful. I'm gonna put together those notes now and create that cheat sheet for you because I've not done it yet, and I gotta go let my dogs in because somebody shut the door because apparently I'm super loud when I make these videos. So y'all stay blessed, stay safe, stay COVID free, and we will see you next week.